Hi guys and girls, I'm Karel from the story department and we're here on the set of the horror movie The Furies by writer-director Tony D'Aquino. We're here in Canberra, that's Australia's capital city. You wouldn't say so because we're in the middle of the bush, but we're only about 15 minutes from the city centre. We developed this film over the past 2 years within an initiative called the Accelerator Pod and then later the Screen Accelerator. And hopefully in this video we'll also have an interview with Tony D'Aquino if we can drag him away from the set for a few minutes. And we'll talk about the screenplay as well.
In the early 1800s, someone found a speck of gold in a stream down here, and in over 4 months they built a town with blacksmith sheds and a post office and a school and a church and all these facilities. And they just finished building the town when the last of the gold had been dug up out of the river and it basically disappeared on the spot. So in 1970, somewhere around the 70s, someone had the bright idea of recreating the entire town as a tourism village and a school excursions and those sort of things. So they came out and they built every single one of these buildings and the streets, and I think it ran for about 30 years until the early 2000s, at which stage they got sick of it and they left, and the entire place is just ours to do with what we will, and it's, you know, it's $1 million of production design if we had to build this. That was just given to us. It's incredible.
Eureka Springs is a fictitious mining town. Now, as you're developing a screenplay, you do research. Some people do too much research. But typically you do as much research as you need in order to develop the story. Now, so did Tony for this story. But the script had been fairly locked off, at least the story was pretty much locked off, when he found this town. And sometimes a location can inform the story. So let's see if this Eureka Springs town actually influenced Tony in the final decisions about the story.
My first few drafts of the script was still set in a forest. The first half of it was set in a forest and the second half was set in a isolated farmhouse. And then a production manager in Canberra told me about Eureka Springs, which is it was an old gold mining town tourist attraction in the 70s. So just thought I had a look at it. So I came in to have a look, and it's fantastic. It's like this decaying ghost town surrounded by forest. So I immediately rewrote the script to take place entirely here because it just adds production value. So that's why I set it here. The location is basically dressed because it went bankrupt in the late 70s and they just walked away and left everything here. So buildings, tools, everything's here. So it's like a studio backlot you've walked into and someone said make a film there. It's fantastic.
The Furies is a horror movie. Now, when you write a screenplay, you need to know exactly what genre you are in. The genre and the subgenre. You need to study all the films in that particular subgenre because the fans have seen them. So you need to know what has been done before and how you can subvert or recreate the genre. So let's see from Tony D'Aquino what his examples were. What are his comparables or his comps?
I'm working with the tradition of slasher films or survival films. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974 is one of my top 10 horror movies, and slasher films in general from the 70s, early 80s. I love that style of filmmaking, the vibe, the kind of rawness of those sort of films. That's what we're trying to recreate here. All the effects are in-camera prosthetics. We're not doing any CGI, which was a big deal for me in making the film. I think they have a different feel, different physicalness and different weight to CGI. They're not perfect, but that's what I like about them. So that's the sort of vibe I'm going for. So I pitched the idea. I attended the first Accelerator Film Pod in 2015 in Canberra, run by Screen Canberra with Karel and Michael Favell from Odin's Eye. And the idea there is you pitch ideas over a number of weekends and they pick which ones they like and which ones they think will do well overseas. So from basically a log line to a one-page synopsis to a final big pitch, when you pitch with a final big competitive pitch to everyone, Odin's Eye picked 8 projects they thought to go to first draft. So from first draft, they picked 4 to go into production. So it was a fairly fast turnaround for me, from pitch to shoot. It's only really been 2 years. So it was, I think the average in Australia was 10 years. So it has been incredibly quick, but been a lot of support along the way, especially through Film Accelerator Pod and the process after that, helping to develop the story. So I wasn't necessarily alone doing that. I had a lot of input and feedback and support.
And we're back in the home studio. I hope you enjoyed our trip to Canberra for the set of The Furies / Killer Instinct. Our next video will have a few more logline reviews with Near Shelter. And don't forget that in the meantime, you can learn about screenwriting from the websites I've listed below. That's Logline It, where you can test your concepts. You can go for a full course to immersion screenwriting, or just learn about basics by reading some of the articles on the Story Department website. To support us, best way is to just subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoyed this video, please give us a like. Thanks for watching. See you next time.